So today we're going to work on the turbo engine cover for the GT line. I just wanted to show you how I approach this because I watched a lot of videos how other people did it. But as an artist, I have access to Photoshop, and if you have a friend that's an artist, I recommend that you get with them and have them help you just to kind of get ideas before you start working on your and actually painting your cover. Uh, so there's different things you can do. The first thing is they just bring it in. If you take a picture of the cover for them and send it to them, then they can go ahead and build out layers. Basically, what they'll do is just select the main object. So they just select the right one. And so with one click of a button, they basically can select your whole engine cover. And then from that, they can make a copy and create a new layer that's basically just your engine cover. And then from there, I'll just go ahead and hide that. They can use their lasso tool or any other tool, pen tool, and basically quickly just start cutting out the cover. And it doesn't have to be exact because you're just trying to get an idea. And what we'll do is we'll do a cut and then paste. Oops. We'll paste it back in place. And so that basically separates the top piece from the bottom two pieces. And I won't show you all the steps, but that's what they do. If you're the graphic designer will know what they're doing. So just to kind of give you a look at how it actually turns out, is basically I have the different sections all layered out. So as I'm clicking each of these, you can see how I'm layering up the colors. And basically the person with the Photoshop can go ahead and pick any color you want. You can tell them, hey, I just want to do the bottom piece, or I just want to do the top piece, or just the letters. And then you can select any color that you want. So say for instance, I wanted to change the bottom color. I'll just double click and then pick a different color. And you can see it already updating on my screen. And again, you're going to be limited to the colors that you can use. Let me cancel, I'll turn it back. But you'll be limited to the colors available. What I did is I went to the VHT website and just kind of looked at the different colors. There's only about 5 of them, and I'll pull that on the screen. Just so you have an idea, it's just blue, orange, red, silver, black, and I think that was it. I couldn't find purple, couldn't find yellow, but yeah, you'll be limited to what they have, and then also whatever AutoZone has in stock, because I only had 3 colors when I went, so I ended up going with red and silver. So that's how you do the technical portion, but again, if you have a friend that's an artist, they can do this pretty quick in about half hour or so, and then let you see the different variations. You can, any of these colors can be changed out, the top colors, bottom colors, and until you can get it down the way you want it, you can change out all the text, and that's pretty much it for the Photoshop. One thing that I recommend that you don't do is to think about painting over the carbon fiber portion of your cover. That is a beautiful part of it. Just the other plain plastic parts is the areas that I looked at improving. But if you look at that cover closely, there's actually different colors that are reflecting in that carbon fiber. So just leave that part beautiful and then just do your design to the other areas of it. So the next step is to remove and clean the turbo cover. And one thing I learned is don't use brake cleaner because that'll basically dry out and disturb or destroy the plastic components over time. So I just use Windex and wipe it off with some water. And then from there, you'll start to mask off the cover based off of the design you selected in Photoshop, and kind of working on masking off the cover one color at a time. And then also, you'll see here, I flipped it over. You want to make sure that you mask off the bottom portion because there'll be overspray, and you'll see at the end of the video how this protected all that. When you're masking off the letters, try to mask them off the letters on the same angles using your tape. That way it's going to make lining these out and making sure everything's straight a lot easier if you're already using the correct angle as you're doing this. And so a little bit closer to look on the angle, how everything's lined up with the G and the I. And then you just take another piece of tape, cover up everything. Now you have everything lined up. And then use a mechanical pencil to trace out the letters, just like you would trace anything else out. And you'll know that these are either raised letters or indented. In this case, they're indented. And then after you trace them with the pencil, then come back with your X-Acto and just cut out one letter at a time. And in here, I just kind of fast forward it to all the pieces being completed, pulled out and ready to go, ready to paint. So when you're prepping your paint area, just make sure you have enough paper on the ground, because the paint's going to drop. Some of it's going to blow away with the air, depending on how windy it is outside. But there is little splatters and stuff. You don't want to ruin your concrete. So the first step after you've prepped everything is applying your first light coat. And I forgot to hit record on this, but this is after putting my first light coat. It's basically like what we used to call powder coat back in the day, and basically just kind of creating a surface for the paint to stick to. And you're going to wait 10 minutes for it to dry. The next step is now you apply your first medium wet coat, and you'll just pick a direction and follow that direction. And with each of these coats, you're going to try to do an opposite direction or a cross direction, just so you're getting the paint put evenly on everything, and making sure you're covering every angle and every dimension, because these are multi-dimensional covers. Then third, you'll do your third coat, which is again a medium wet coat, and you're going to allow 10 minutes to dry in between each of these, if I didn't mention it before. That way you got a good tack and a sealed surface before you apply the next one on. Because if you don't do this, you're going to end up with runs, and runs are the enemy of beautiful paint jobs. Then you'll do your fourth coat. You're kind of just making sure you're going over each area, including the text again. Again, you don't want to put too much on the text, because the multiple layers is what's key. If not, you're going to end up with some weird effects and cracking or paint pilling up as you remove the tape. There's all kinds of problems if you put too much paint on your actual typography. After waiting 10 minutes, you're going to start pilling the mask. You don't want the paint to be completely dry as you're pilling, just because you might pill the paint up. But the main thing when pilling, you want to pill away from the paint, so that way it snaps and breaks apart. So it's not lifting, but it's actually causing a cut where it's pulling away. Excuse the plastic bag usage. Somebody took my gloves, so I didn't have any gloves left, and I wasn't going to go to the store, but you can be creative, use what you got. Main thing is you just don't want to get this paint and solvent and thinner stuff direct contact with your skin. Just be careful around the letters. You want to pull slowly and kind of work your way around them. And then you'll continue to peel off the rest of the masking, making sure you're keeping your hands on the dry portion, because you don't want to mess anything up. And there you have it. There's the finished first color. Just looking from every different angle. And we're already at that point, you're seeing a big difference. So here, you want to look at the back. This is all the overspray I was talking about before. And this is why we cover the bottom. Most important thing to remember is stop and wait 48 hours to prevent pulling paint. Because as you see in this next video segment, I accidentally pulled paint. So next step, you're gonna mask off the cover for your second color. And here I use plastic to make sure that I didn't want anything sticking to my paint. So again, making sure your angles are matching the angles of your text, and kind of line your tape up if you can with the top edge of your typography, just to make it easier on you as you start tracing this out. And if you notice here, the letter's raised. Then I lay my first piece of tape over the typography and go ahead and trace it out with a mechanical pencil. Then I use my X-Acto knife to cut out those pieces and keep everything clean. Then apply the next piece of tape, trace that out with a mechanical pencil. Then go ahead and cut that out with the X-Acto knife. And here's how everything looks, just from a different angle. And now we move on to painting. So just like the first color, you're going to apply your first light coat. Again, a dust coat, powder coat, just giving the paint something to stick on. You don't want to be too close to it. Just kind of keep a good distance. Then after 10 minutes of drying, you're going to apply your second coat, which is your first medium wet coat. And again, let the 10 minutes dry. Here I forgot to press record, so that's why you don't see me actually spraying. Then after 10 minutes, you're going to apply your third coat, which is your medium wet coat, going at a different angle. Again, you're trying to get full coverage because it's a multi-dimensional object. And then fourth, you're going to apply your fourth coat, and this should be the final coat, just making sure I'm hitting it at a different angle and making sure all areas are covered, and especially in those text areas where it's imprinted, like beveled. You want to make sure that the paint gets into the bevel. And now, just like with the first color, you start peeling the mask off carefully, keeping your hands protected either with gloves or get a plastic bag if you lost your gloves for some reason, and just peel off carefully around the letters. Granted, you might get some lift, but don't worry, we'll fix the lift areas later. And just be careful when you're peeling things off that you don't pull anything tight or stretch anything to rub the paint off the edges, because I accidentally did on this because I didn't wait the 48 hours. Again, just be careful when you're peeling. Don't worry about small areas where it might be tearing, because you can go back with your X-Acto. I try to finish a complete pull before going back because I don't want to accidentally touch any of that wet paint. And slowly work on your lettering, all the center portions of your letters. Pull them out with your X-Acto, using the X-Acto tip, and then your other hand to kind of help lift it with the tip. Again, being careful not to touch the wet paint. And so here you can see the paint lifted. It looks flat, and that's where I left the blue tape on it too long without waiting 24 hours. So here I'm using a mask to kind of fix the areas where I lifted. You can see that edge where I rubbed the plastic, the paint off with the plastic. So I'm going to go ahead and cover that. And then you're just using the paper as a mask, just to kind of, so you don't have to re-tape everything. Just mask it off, and you can do some quick sprays. There's a danger you might get a little overspray, but next you're going to touch up the letters if needed using a Q-tip. And then here's the finished product. Make sure you wait 24 to 48 hours before moving on to the next step. The next step is measuring your gold pieces. I had some gold left over from my previous project on the cold air intake wrap, and so just kind of am using that to make sure I'm continuing to move forward and allowing this to tie in together with the cold air intake, so it doesn't look like another piece of the car separate from it. One thing to point out on cutting out these items is make sure you cut gold side down. If not, you end up with those little squiggly pieces as you're trimming because it's pulling the tape. So just to keep everything clean, just cut everything down. And so first you'll pull off your first long piece, and you're going to put this across the center area, because you want to start with the center and then use the sides to cover up these edges. That way everything looks clean and looks like it was intentional, and not that there's this single strip that gets stacked on top of everything else. Next, you'll work on your left corner, and here you can see I've already cut it out, but cutting things out is meticulous. You're going to have to do it a step at a time, measuring, cutting a little piece, measuring, cutting a little piece, then cut an angle. But just small steps at a time, and just take your time on applying everything on the side. You don't want to push it fully down, but just kind of see how it works, see if it's going to fit or if it's in the right position. And if it doesn't work, go ahead and peel it up and reposition as needed, just to get everything to fit exactly the way you want it to be, because this tape is forgiving. And use your X-Acto knife to press down any corners and any tight spots. Next, you'll apply your final corner that you've already cut, measured. So it's a slow process measuring these, but just take your time and it'll all work out. Start with the bottoms first and then work your ways to the top, and then your angles last. Just keep double checking. Maybe you need to see things from different angles, and then slowly work it around. Reposition again if needed, because something can be off by an eighth of an inch or 1/16 of an inch, and it'll affect the rest of it. So you just got to be patient as you're doing this. And see how it's already closing up that front lip and making everything look flush. And then start pressing everything down firm after you know everything's in the right position and place. And so here's the final product. You can see it's gold all around, and the different edges and connector pieces where they're merged together disappear. Here's the final product. Here's the underside with the overspray protected, so it's clean. Okay, so now is the finished engine bay. With the gold accents and the BMS oil filler cap. So now everything ties in, and this completes the engine bay. And here's the after, and here's the before and after, and that's all I have for you today. Thank you.